Hello everybody. Today we will start with a new chapter in biology in standard 10th, that is the nervous system. So nervous system is basically the one which is taking care of your complete coordination, thinking, memory, जो भी है, that all things which are clubbed together, the touch, the feeling of the taste, the different kinds of the enzymes should be produced at a particular point. So all the different kinds of the sensations, what we can talk about, they are going to be controlled by the nervous system. So the need for the nervous system is the nervous system in our body performs the following major functions. First, keeps us informed about the outside world through the sense organs. Yes, we are able to get the information. अरे बहुत ठंडी है, गर्मी है, or it is wet outside, or when I touch something it is hot. So all the sensations what you are getting to understand about the outside world to your body is known is the one of the function of the nervous system. Second, it enables us to remember, to think and to reason out. Yes, it enables us to remember something. Okay, it enables us to remember something, recall something. Then to think, okay, we are able to think that, okay, what should we do today? How do we start about this thing? So that thinking, and also reason out why this is that way. What would happen if I do it this way? So that reasoning out also is done with the help of the nervous system. Third, controls and harmonizes all voluntary activities or muscular activities like running or even holding this book in your hand while you are reading it. So all the voluntary activities, the one which is going to control your muscles, right? Okay, I want to lift the pen, I want to hold the pen like this, I want to open the pen like. So ये जो भी the voluntary activities which you are trying to do yourself, okay, which is not something which is you are not even aware and you are doing it. You are very much aware about doing that particular thing, and that is called as an involuntary activity. Okay, sorry, the voluntary activity. Voluntary activity means anything which you are voluntarily doing, which you are by your own will. The some things which you are doing by your own will, then it is called as a voluntary activity, like holding of this pen or writing or moving around, walking, running, eating. Yeah, everything is voluntary activities. And lastly is regulates involuntary activities such as breathing or beating of the heart without thinking about them. See, we don't need to think, अरे हाँ मुझे heartbeat मेरा चालू करने का रह गया, morning में उठते ही मुझे I forgot how to respire. Okay, you are not going to have that. You are going to inhale, you are going to exhale, your heartbeat is going to keep on moving. They are all involuntary activities. You don't tell even in your digestion. तुम लोग खाना तो खाते हो, पर उसके बाद में फूड जो जहाँ जहाँ से पास होता है, क्या वो तुम लोगों को do you need to push it? अरे यार मैं तो भूल ही गया था कि I had to push that food from the stomach into the intestine. No, you don't need to do it. It is involuntarily, it is taking place in your body without your even knowing it. So that is all involuntary activities, and that involuntary activities which is taking place in your body is being controlled by the nervous system. So you can see the nervous system controls, or the need for the nervous system is this for major. There are plenty of the different kind of functions of the nervous system, but these four would be considered to be as one of the most important one. That is one about the feeling or the sensations around us. The second is to remember, think and to analyze and to reason out something. Third is the voluntary activities of the body, and fourth is the involuntary activities of the body. So these are the need. This is the need for this is why we need the nervous system. Now the nervous system is made up of a special kind of a cell, and that cell is called as a neuron. So a neuron is a special kind of a cell which is the building block of the nervous system. Each and every organ of the nervous system is going to be made with the help of nerve cells called as neurons. So neuron, nerve cells, the unit of nervous system. Our nervous system consists of brain, spinal cord, sense receptors and a whole lot of nerves. The brain and the spinal cord are made up of neurons or nerve cells. So let us first learn about these cells, the neurons. So first of all, let us understand about the neurons. So let's see the diagram of the neuron first. So if we see the diagram of the neuron, it is something like this, simplified form. So there is this nucleus over here, the cytoplasm, yeah, and then there will be some connections like this over here. They are the dendrons and the dendrites. Okay, and then there is some insulating layers over here. So these are the covering or the sheaths, the insulating sheaths which is present on the axon. So yeah, we'll just draw this and then label this also properly. So that is about the figure, and now let's see the labeling point of view. So first one is, this part is the dendron, this are the dendrites, okay, dendrites. Then there are granules which are called as the Nissl granules. Okay. Next is the nucleus. Yeah, this is the nucleus, and this particular part over here is the cyton. So this is the cyton, also called as pericardion. Okay, pericardion is cyton, and this part over here, from here to the end here, is the axon. Okay, that's the axon, and yeah, so the nerve fiber axon, and then there are this nucleus over here, nucleus inside this thing, and then there is the outermost sheath, outermost part is neurolemma, neurolemma. The next sheath underneath is the myelin sheath. Okay, the myelin sheath, and finally there are these gaps in between, these gaps which are called as node of Ranvier. Okay, it's a node of Ranvier which is there, and finally are this one, which are the axon endings. Okay, these are the axon endings. So we have over here the upper part, there is a cyton. The cyton has got the branching which is called as the dendrons, which are connecting to the next such kind of neurons. And then there are this long axon. So the cyton is like this, just located either in the brain or the spinal cord. And this is a long nerve cell, this long, which is the axon. And the axons will have the endings which will be at different locations. So there will be, these endings are located over here. Now these are the insulating parts. There is a insulating part because we can consider this particular area to be as a bare wire. A bare wire रहेगा तो क्या होता है? अगर मैंने दो bare wire को पास में रखा तो क्या होगा? There will be short circuiting, or there will not be. अगर मैंने this is going to the tube light and this is going to the fan, and if they are together, and if I switch it on, what will happen? Both of them will either run together or both of them will not work at all. So there will be a mixed match, or you can say the confusion about the signal taking place there in the right way. So that's why each and every wire is normally insulated. Similarly over here also the nerves are insulated so that there is no confusion about the sensation coming from what part of the axon. So that's why they are insulated, and the insulation is such that there are two layers. The outermost layer is called as the neurolemma, and the inner layer is called as the myelin sheath. And This once these layers also have a nucleus of its own, and in between there are certain kinds of you can say the gaps over there, and that gaps are called as the node of Renwier. Now this node of Renwier, in many places of our body there are going to be branching out. So there is a possibility that there is a branching out of an axon ending from here itself. There is a possibility that there will be another axon ending over here branched out from the node of Renwier. So there could be a possibility that they are connected in that particular manner. So let's see what is given in the about the structure. The three main parts of the neuron are the cell body, dendrites, and axon. So it's the cell body, there is a cellular part, cell body, there is a cytoplasm, the cyton, the dendrons or the dendrites, and then comes the last one at the axon. So the complete axon are the three parts. So the cell body, perikaryon or cyton, it contains a well-defined nucleus surrounded by granular cytoplasm. So the Nissel's granule which are present inside. So it's a granular kind of a cytoplasm, and it has got a nucleus, a well-defined nucleus inside it. It has all the cell organelles like other cells, only centrosome is absent because nerve cells have lost the ability to divide. Now nerve cells in our body are the only cells which cannot be repaired or replaced. Okay, there is no replacement taking place. Repair hota hai, but replacement nahi hota. That's the reason if a nerve cell is damaged and if it is cut, or then you cannot have a new nerve cell coming up. That's why it is very, very important kind of a cell. So right from your birth to the death, the nerve cells what you are having will be fixed. It will be only the lengthwise they are going to extend based on the height and the size of the body. Otherwise there cannot be any increment, or there cannot be any, we can say, wear and tear ke karan the cell division taking place in case of the nerve cells. So nerve cells do not go for cell division, and that's the reason they do not have centrosome. Centrosome is not present over there because there is no need for any cell division. Then are the dendrites. These are branched cytoplasmic projections of the cell body. They conduct nerve impulses to the cyton. So they are the branched ones over here which are connecting the other cytons, and they are the one which is communicating. The communication or the impulses, the nerve impulses travel from one neuron to another neuron with the help of this particular dendrites. And lastly is the axon. It is a long process from the cell body. Okay, it's a long process, that is a long kind of a body, elongated part of the body cell. It varies in size from a few millimeter to even more than 1 meter in length. See, it is going to be this way, that the cyton is located either in the brain or the spinal cord. So if it is in the spinal cord, suppose I take one of the cyton is in the brain, then it is just going to be connected to, suppose it is just the eye, then if it is connecting to the eye, okay, the size of this axon will be so small, it will be just a small thing over here from the brain to this one. But suppose the spinal cord is over, one of the cyton is in the spinal cord and the axon endings are over here, then the axon will be as long as complete 1 meter of the length. So that's why it could be a very small size, about few millimeters, and it could be as long as 1 meter. So that's why the size of the axon is not completely fixed. It depends upon the location of that particular nerve cell. In most neurons, the axon is surrounded by a white insulating sheath known as myelin or medullary sheath, which is covered by an outer thin sheath called neurolemma. So yeah, the axon is covered by a myelin sheath, and वो myelin sheath के ऊपर और एक covering है, and that is called as the neurolemma. So there are two layers of the protective layers, on insulating layers on top of the axon. One is the myelin sheath, and on top of the myelin sheath is a neurolemma. The myelin sheath shows gap throughout the length, which are called nodes of Renwier. So there are gaps in between over here. These gaps which are there, they are called as node of Renwier. Some axons may have side branches called collateral. So there could be chances that there will be side laterals which are there. Axons may be not only having a straight line, but it could be side laterals also. So in such cases, they will be having side laterals coming from the nodes of Ranvier, and they are called as collaterals. The end portion of the axon are swollen ends like bulbs which store certain chemicals with called neurotransmitters. So these ends over here, they have got the neurotransmitters as the chemicals which are going to be the one which is going to pass on the impulses. So they are swollen bulbs which store chemicals which are called as neurotransmitters. Axon terminals are closely packed near the dendrites of another one or more neuron but are not connected. Okay, so you can see the axon terminals. ये एक axon terminal है, दूसरा axon terminal यहाँ पे है, तो they are not connected. They are just close to each other. You know, they are just going to be slightly apart. Okay. They are never going to be touching each other. They are going to be slightly apart. So axon and terminals are closely placed near the dendrites. So this axon ending is going to be connected to these dendrites, not directly over there, but it will be closely packed. Okay, it will be closely placed. There will be a slight gap. There is a small gap between the axon ending and the dendrite endings. And such gap is in between is called as a synaptic cleft. Okay, it is called as a synaptic. So if I got another, if I draw like this, that if I've got one axon over here, so this is another axon here like this. So there's a gap in between. This gap which is there in between, the gap between this blue thing and the red thing over here is called as the synaptic cleft. Okay, it's a synaptic cleft which is going to be there, and syn means together and ellipse is gap, that is why synaptic cleft, which is going to be there for the transmission of the impulses and to reset that impulse. See, basically this is called, this process by which the impulse is going to be transmitted from the neuron to another neuron is going to be done with the help of the process called as synapse. It is the process called as synapse. Now this synapse is going to be such that it will be not only transmission of the impulses from one point to another point, but at the same time there should be also a reset, that once the transmission is done, then there should be a break in the transmission, so that you know that the transmission was only for a certain time. Like for example, if somebody is tapping me over here, right, I can feel the tapping. I don't feel like somebody has just hold his hand over here. Okay, when somebody is holding the hand over here, at that time the feeling is different, and when somebody is tapping, the feeling is different. Why that so? Because when you are tapping, also when you are holding over here, when you are holding, there is a continuous flow of the impulses. When you are tapping, there is a continuous breaking of the impulses. Means one tap, some impulse sent, one tap, another impulse sent, another tap, another impulse sent. So that impulses, when they are sent, at that time, what is going to happen is this, between these two, there will be a synapse, there will be a jumping over of the impulses from here to here. That jumping over will be done with the help of a neurotransmitter in between, which is going to be coming up for the transmission and going away, so that there is no transmission. Again coming up, then going away, so that ये tapping का feel जो है वो पता चले. Anyway, we'll just read that thing, so we come to that particular part also. Now, there are some basic terms which are going to be required in the nervous activity. As first, a stimulus, an agent or a sudden change of the external or internal environment that results in the change in an organism or any of its body part is the stimulus. So, whenever, like for example, you are just coming out of a movie theater and you can see bright sunlight. So what happens? The bright sunlight automatically makes you close your eyes, or at least hide your eyes. तो वो क्यों करते हैं? Because that the sunlight over there, the bright sunlight, is the stimulus which is making you close your eyes, okay, because it's too bright, so you're not able to accommodate so easily, and it is like, or for example, if I am standing over here and suddenly when I'm standing over here and there is some nail or something which is there and it just pricks me, what happens? I just release my hand, so that pricking over there will become the stimulus. Or when I hold something, I hold this, but suppose this pen was very hot and I hold it and it's very hot, so I just leave it. So when I am holding it, the hot pen becomes the stimulus. Similar, the response, the change in the organism resulting due to the stimulus. So it was very hot. So what did I do? I just left it. So when I leave it, what is that? That is a response which is given by me. Okay, the sun rays आए, बहुत ज़्यादा bright sunlight आया, so that is the stimulus. When I closing my eyes or I hiding my eyes, that is the response to the stimulus. Okay, somebody just throws a ball on me suddenly, then I just protect my hand. Okay, protect my head by putting my hand in between. So what is that? That is the response to the stimulus of somebody throwing something on me. So this is how the response and stimulus comes into picture. The third is the impulse, the wave of irritability or electrical disturbance that sweeps over the nerve cell. So the wave that is going to travel from here into the nerve cell. So that is why the wave or the impulse or the electrical signal which is going to pass from one neuron to another neuron is called as the impulse. So wave or the electrical impulse, or it is the wave signal which is going to pass through from one nerve cell to another nerve cell. Next is the receptor. The specialized epithelial cells which on receiving the stimulus sets up wave of impulses towards the central nervous system is the receptor. So like for example, if I this hand of mine, now the hand part, we know that this is our receptor, because when I touch something and it is hot, then I withdraw my hand. So who is sensing that particular that the thing is hot or cold? That is the skin over here, or you can say the palm. So that palm is my receptor. They are going to receive the information from the atmosphere. So somebody is like the pricking of something, or maybe somebody tapping, so वो basically receptor है. So the area where somebody has tapped me, that particular part has got the sensation which tells me that somebody is calling me. So that is, or even the ears, you listen to something and that is nothing but the receptor. So eyes are the receptor. Okay, eyes, ears, they are the receptors of our body. They are receiving the information from outside. So that is why they are called the receptors. And finally are the effector. Now based on the receptor, whatever is the information what you receive, the body is going to process the information accordingly, ask your body to act accordingly. Like I told you, बहुत sunlight है तो हाथ ऊपर कर दिया. So what is that? The effector, that is the effect which is going to be given by the body towards the stimulus. So that is why it is called as the effector. So the muscles or gland which on receiving the impulse from the brain or spinal cord contract or secrete substances. Like suddenly something goes into your eyes. What happens? The eyes start watering. Why does the eyes start watering? Because it is the kind of a response to the stimulus. And so the gland over here, the tear gland which are over here, they are going to start secreting the tears so that it will wash away the eye. So that is nothing but a kind of a effector. It's an effect of the whatever it has sensed. So the brain and the spinal cord are going to tell that particular muscle or the gland to secrete accordingly, so that it is responding again to the stimulus. So that is what is called as the effectors. We now see the next thing, and that is transmission of nerve impulse. Now this is a very important part, how the transmission of the nerve impulse takes place. In normal resting condition, the outer side of the nerve fiber carries positive charge. This is called as polarized state. The polarization is due to more Na plus ions outside the axon membrane. So what we see over here is, if I got, this is the nerve cell. The nerve cell has got a positive polarized condition, that is because of the presence of sodium ion, Na plus ions. You will find that outside of the axons there will be the positive charge and inside would be negative charge. So positive charge is due to the presence of sodium ions which are present over there. So when it is like this, a positive outside and inside negative, this is called as the resting stage. Okay, that means there is no impulse traveling through that particular nerve cell. So that is the resting stage, wherein the positive ion is outside because of the presence of the sodium ions outside the axon membranes. On stimulation, that is mechanical, electrical, chemical or heat, etc. So whenever there is a stimulation, like I told you, that sun rays or something which is very hot, so I feel that particular hot thing coming onto me, or something pricking me, or something tapping me. तो ये जब भी कोई भी stimulus आएगा, so whenever you get this particular stimulus over there, the axon membranes are at that spot become more permeable to any ions which move inwards and cause loss of polarization, that is depolarization. This is known as the excited stage. So what region? So what happens is, as soon as somebody taps, okay, somebody has tapped me, so accordingly what will happen at that particular point, the positive ion, the permeability of this particular nerve endings, okay, the axon का जो not nerve endings, the axon का जो outer layer जो है, okay, the axons के जो outer membrane है, they become more permeable to the sodium ions, and the sodium ion enter into the axons. So this sodium ion enters into the axon, becomes positive over here and negative outside automatically, and positive over here and negative outside over here. So this condition wherein the sodium ion is entered into the nerve cell is called as the excited region. Okay, that's the excited region over here. Now moreover, what happens is, because of the presence of positive over here, automatically this next one also gets charged and it becomes positive, and this one resets itself to become negative again and positive outside. So there is a reset of the thing when this gets forward. So this becomes positive and this becomes negative, but this has become positive now and this has become normal. So this is now normal and this one is excited. उसके बाद क्या होगा, ये इसको आगे करेगा तो ये पॉजिटिव होगा और ये फिर से नेगेटिव हो जाएगा. सो नाउ दिस इज एक्साइटेड, देन दिस इज एक्साइटेड, ऐसे करके दी पासिंग द पार्सल जैसा कुछ हो रहा है कि एक चीज इसके पास आया, उसने नेक्स्ट को दिया, उसने नेक्स्ट को दिया, उसने नेक्स्ट को दिया, ऐसे करते करते द सोडियम आयन इज ट्रैवलिंग इन थ्रू द axon, inside the axon, due to the excited region present over there. So to a certain extent we can say that, have you seen a Mexican wave in the football का stadium? Okay, क्रिकेट के में भी आजकल होता है, बट फुटबॉल स्टेडियम में ज़्यादा होता है. दैट एवरीबडी मेक्स अ वेव, यानी क्या होता है, एक जन खड़ा होगा और फिर उसका नेक्स्ट वाला खड़ा होगा और ये बैठ जाएगा, फिर उसका नेक्स्ट वाला खड़ा होगा, ये बैठ जाएगा, ऐसे करके दे फॉर्म अ वेव, और इट जस्ट लेज द हैंड्स आल्सो. Okay, one raises a hand and then when he goes down, he goes up. ऐसे करते सब लोग क्या करेंगे, तो you form a wave of the hands up and down. So that wave which is going to be formed will be similar over here. The wave of sodium ion is going to be formed inside that axon, and hence the impulse is moving from one end of the axon to the other end of the axon. So the point of depolarization becomes a stimulus for the next neighboring area of the membrane, which in turn becomes depolarized. So you can see that here ये depolarize हुआ, पर ये polarize भी था तो उसने इसको polarize किया, ये polarize हुआ तो ये depolarize हुआ, उसके बाद इसने इसको depolarize किया तो ये depolarize फिर से हो गया, ऐसे करके there is a continuous polarization of the next one and depolarization of the earlier one. Meanwhile, the previous area becomes repolarized due to the active transport of any ions again to the outside. So here you can see this is polarized condition. So उसके बाद अंदर जब भी जाएगा तो depolarize हुआ, उसके बाद उसके next पे गया तो next वाला depolarize हुआ और वो फिर से repolarize हुआ, ऐसे करके there is a polarization and depolarization, sorry, depolarization and repolarization. Okay, depolarization and repolarization taking place. So meanwhile, the previous area becomes repolarized due to the active transport of any ions again to the outside. This transport is achieved by what is called as a sodium pump using energy through ATP. So this particular pumping of the sodium inside the axon and then bringing it back, this is called as the sodium pump, when it is the ATP of the body which is used for this particular conduction. So the conduction of the nerve impulse is a wave of depolarization followed by repolarization. So it is depolarization and repolarization taking place in a sequential manner so that the conduction of the impulse takes place. Do not compare conduction of nerve impulse in the nerve fiber with the flow of electricity through an electric wire. In the latter, the electrons actually do move along the wire, whereas neither any substance nor any electrons or the ions move along the nerve fiber. You can see that in case of electricity, the electrons are going to move from one end to another end. So there will be a passing of electrons over there. You cannot compare the nerve impulses with the electricity, because electricity is by the actual movement of the electrons from one end to another end. Here it is just polarization, यानी सोडियम अंदर आया बाहर गया, अंदर आया बाहर गया, but the अंदर आया बाहर आ गया जो है, that is in sequential manner. That's why the sodium is just going to remain either upwards or below. वही होने वाला है, but अंदर जाएगा तो नेक्स्ट को अंदर लेगा, फिर नेक्स्ट को अंदर लेगा. So it is just sodium just going up and down, causing the flow of the impulse in a nerve cell. And so we cannot compare the nerve cell impulse with the electricity. The speed of nerve cells and speed of electricity is quite different. The speed of the electricity is very high, that is the speed of light, that 3 into 10 is to 8 meter per second. Whereas the electricity is conducted through the wire at a speed of about 1,50,000 kilometers per second, that is the speed of light, 3 into 10 is to 8 meter per second. But the nerve impulse travels at the maximum speed of 100 meters per second only. So it is only the speed of the, but 100 meters per second. अपना body का total distance कितना है? राइट, तो इट इज 100 मीटर पर सेकेंड, यानी अपने बॉडी में 100 मीटर से जितना तो होता ही नहीं है डिस्टेंस फ्रॉम एनी पॉइंट टू एनी पॉइंट. फ्रॉम द लाइक फॉर एग्जांपल, इफ आई गेट समथिंग, आई हिट द टो ऑफ माय फीट, ओके, that impulse is immediately reaching the brain in less than a second. Okay, not even takes 1 hour, because the distance is not even 10 meters. So automatically it will be 1/10 of a second that most of the impulses are understood by us whenever an impulse takes place, stimulus takes place. Accordingly, we now see what is synapse. So synapse is a point of contact between the terminal branches of the axon of the neuron with the dendrites of another neuron separated by a fine gap. Here the nerve impulse jumps into the next neuron. This is a chemical process. As the impulse reaches the terminal end of the axon, a chemical acetylcholine is released. This chemical sets a new impulse in the dendrite of the adjacent next neuron. The chemical is soon broken down by an enzyme to make the synapse ready for the next transmission. So we see over here that in this case, I'll just write here, if this is a dendrite, okay, the ends of the dendrite, and then these are the ends of the axon. So the impulse from the dendrite is going to go to the axon. So this is the dendrite and this is the axon, and there is a gap in between. This gap over here is called as a synaptic cleft. And what happens is, as soon as the impulse comes up to from here, it reaches this point, and when it reaches this point, there is one particular kind of a enzyme which is generated over here, chemical which is generated over here, which is called as acetylcholine. Okay, this is called as acetylcholine. So acetylcholine is going to be generated here so that the nerve impulse can travel from here to here. एक बार इधर आ गया तो फिर यहाँ पे मूव हो जाएगा. पर और उसके बाद में क्या होगा? There will be another kind of an enzyme which will be coming up and clearing it, so that when the next impulse come, at that time it can come again. So every time there will be a new acetylcholine generated over there, so that the reset is going to be there for the previous impulse which was sent inside this particular neuron. Okay, so there will be this particular process of the impulse jumping from one dendrite to another axon, or from axon to the dendrite, is called as synapse. Okay, it is called as synapse. I wrote somewhere, I don't know, yeah, it was somewhere here. It is called as synapse. So synapse is the movement. So it is jumping, the impulse is jumping from one axon to another axon, that is called as synapse. Now we see the types of neurons. One sec. Okay, I had to stop here. We'll continue in the next video.